Self-discipline, as I am presenting it to you here, has reference not only to your mastery of negative habits, which stand in the way of your success, but more particularly to your development and enforcement of the positive habits you will need in order to avail yourself of the 6 assets you brought over with you in that sealed envelope I mentioned in our first visit. Now let me give you a list of the more important things over which you will have to exercise self-discipline before you can embrace and use the great master key to riches. 1, you will have to gain mastery over your tongue by acquiring the habit of thinking first and then speaking after you are sure that what you say will benefit you and not injure others. A loose tongue often is one's greatest liability. 2, you will have to exercise self-discipline in mastering the common tendency to strike back at those at whom you have a cause, real or imaginary, for a grievance. You must remember that everything you do to or for another, you do to or for yourself, because your every thought and every act which benefits or injures another person comes back to you in kind, greatly multiplied. So if you feel that you must slander another person, do not speak it, but write it. Write it in the sands near the water's edge, then move away from it until the tides have flown. 3, you will have to exercise self-discipline over all of your emotions, particularly your emotions of love, hate, fear, and sex. These are the big 4 of your emotions, and they can make you or break you according to the extent of discipline you exercise over them. 4, your mental attitude needs discipline and control at all times. Lacking this discipline, it can, and it often does, drive away friends, destroy opportunities to get ahead, brings on physical and mental illness, develops stomach ulcers, and makes peace of mind impossible. 5, I have reserved the emotion of sex for special mention, because failure to exercise self-discipline over this emotion probably heads the list of all the causes of personal failure. The emotion of sex is the most powerful of all emotions, and it is nature's great creative instrument with which all species of living things are perpetuated. The proper means of self-discipline of the emotion of sex is transmutation, the control and direction of this great emotional feeling toward the attainment of worthy purposes, such as the fulfillment of one's major purpose in life. The great leaders, artists, orators, industrialists, and professional people have learned the art of sex transmutation through the proper system of self-discipline. Because of the delicacy of the subject of sex emotion, I am limited as to the information I can give you about it on this visit, but I have covered the subject much more in detail in some of my books. And 6, your stomach also needs discipline through the proper habits of dieting and fasting, because information on dieting and fasting should come from your own doctor. I will not go into details concerning them, except to call your attention to the need for knowledge on this subject. Personally, I attribute my sound physical health mainly to the habits of dieting and fasting, which I have developed through the years. And 7, you will need to exercise self-discipline in relation to religion and politics, because our country, which is the most acceptable form of society civilization has yet produced, is made up of people of varying beliefs in connection with both of these subjects. To be happy and prosperous in our country, we must learn to live and to let live, to give others the privileges we ask and demand for ourselves. And this often calls for strict discipline over self. 8, but I have reserved until the last my reference to the most important circumstances over which you must exercise the strictest of self-discipline if you are to embrace and use the great master key to riches. I have reference to your profound privilege of taking possession of your own mind and directing it to whatever ends you may desire. You cannot take possession of your own mind or direct it to definite ends without a practical system. I have devoted the better portion of my past life to the revelation and presentation of such a system, and I know that this system works because it has been successfully used by many millions of people throughout the world. The system is not only practical and workable, but it is so simple that anyone who is ready for it may master it and use it successfully. Its use does not call for a genius nor a great amount of formal education. It calls only for a will to take possession of one's own mind and a definite purpose to which the mind is to be directed. Self-discipline by Thomas A. Edison made him the world's greatest inventor, who revealed to mankind during the first half of the 20th century more of nature's secrets than had been uncovered during the entire previous history of civilization. Self-discipline carried Wilbur and Orville Wright through a multitude of failures and enabled them finally to give the world its first practical airplane, an achievement which has made the world smaller and changed the entire trend of civilization. Self-discipline helped Helen Keller to triumph over deafness, blindness, and dumbness, a combination of afflictions such as most people never experience. Self-discipline helped me to carry on through years of heart-aching discouragement and defeat and give the world the first practical philosophy of success based on the know-how gained by hundreds of men and women who spent a lifetime by the trial and error method in discovery of the principles which lead to personal success. Self-discipline is among the top-ranking features of all the great religions, including, of course, the Christian faith. And there are some people who believe that our major purpose on earth is that of developing wisdom through struggle and self-discipline. One thing is certain: no one ever becomes very wise without the aid of self-discipline, and no one ever finds peace of mind and happiness without the strict exercise of self-discipline. Self-discipline is the only means of transmuting sorrow into faith. It is the only means by which we may transmute hatred of others into the milder emotion of sympathy for them. It is the only means by which we may reveal and profit by the seed of an equivalent benefit which comes with every adversity and every defeat. It is the only means by which we may shut out of our minds the deadly effects of past experiences of suffering and unpleasantness. And it is the means by which we may discover that other self we carry around with us, that self which has great capacity for belief and does not become influenced by failure and defeat. Self-discipline can give us freedom from the fear of death, the most difficult to master of all of our fears. It can free us from the disease of hypochondria, the fear of imaginary illness with which so many people suffer and sometimes die. Self-discipline is the means by which we may think our own thoughts, live our own lives as we wish to live them, and remain forever free from the evils of fears and limitations which we have inherited from the dark ages before the dawn of civilization. The Creator never gives one an asset or benefit without passing along with it the means by which it may be embraced and used. Self-discipline, therefore, is the means by which the Creator provided us with a method of embracing and using the only thing over which we have unchallengeable control, the power of our own thoughts.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the number one challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn this special wealth formula. Enjoy. Rule number 2, develop a positive mental attitude.
As I have suggested in previous visits, a positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life. Because of the importance of the subject of our visit, I shall not only tell you that a positive mental attitude heads the entire list of the 12 great riches in life, but I am going to give you explicit instructions as to what you must do to keep your mind positive. In all the success books I have written, I have never suggested to my readers what they should do without clearly telling them how to do it. Are you ready? If you are ready, this visit may bring the most important change in your life you have ever experienced. 1, learn to adjust yourself to other people's state of mind and difficulties so as to get along peacefully with them and to refrain from taking notice of trivial circumstances in your relations with other people by refusing to allow them to become controversial incidents. Great people always avoid small incidents of controversy when possible. 2, establish for yourself a definite fixed system of conditioning your mind at the beginning of each day so you will keep it positive under all circumstances. 3, learn the art of selling yourself to other people by indirection, such as asking leading questions, which will bring out the sort of reactions from others which you desire. And do not permit yourself to be drawn into argument over unimportant subjects. 4, adopt the habit of having a good hearty laugh every time you become irritated or angry. And it will help you if you begin each day with 1 minute of hearty laughing. This will change the chemistry of your brain and start you out with a positive mental attitude. However, you had better get out of sight when you take your laughing exercise. 5, start each day with an expression of gratitude for all the adversities, defeats, failures you have experienced in the past, and search for the seed of an equivalent benefit these have yielded you through the passing of time. Then give thanks for the blessings you expect to receive during the day. 6, learn to concentrate your attention on the can-do portion of all of your problems and desires and start action where you stand in carrying out this portion. No matter what may be your problem or your desire, there is always something you can do right now that will help you. Find out what this something is and do it. 7, learn to transmute all unpleasant circumstances into immediate action which calls for a positive mental attitude, and make this a fixed habit. For example, when you are angry, switch your mind to some sort of action in connection with your hobby or your major purpose in life, and keep it busy with that subject for 5 minutes. 8, recognize that every circumstance which influences your life, whether it is a pleasant or unpleasant circumstance, is grist for your mill of life, and so use it to make it pay you dividends in one form or another. Remembering, meanwhile, that your strength grows out of your struggles. Follow this instruction and you will soon learn that there is no such thing as an unprofitable experience. 9, look upon your life as a continuous process of education, of learning from all your experiences, good and bad, and be always on the alert for gains of wisdom which come to you a little at a time in both your pleasant and unpleasant experiences. 10, make the world over to fit your own pattern if you choose. But begin with yourself in some sort of self-improvement which will make you more open-minded, patient, and generous in your relations with others. 11, express gratitude twice daily for your recognition of the fact that you have been given complete control over your own mind, and ask for guidance in order that you may use this profound gift wisely in all your thoughts and acts. 12, go out of your way daily to comment enthusiastically on the good qualities of those with whom you live and work, but do not mention their negative qualities. Then observe with benefit to yourself how quickly others will begin to concentrate on your good qualities. Remember, I'm still talking about how to keep your mind positive. And 13, accept all criticism of yourself as an occasion for self-examination to determine how much of it is justified, and you will be sure to make startling discoveries about yourself which will help you to the remainder of your life. 14, do not accept from life or anyone else anything you do not desire. And remember that Mahatma Gandhi proved himself to be more powerful than the great British military forces by this simple method of passive resistance. 15, remember always that there are 2 kinds of circumstances which cause you to worry. Those you can do something about, and those you can do nothing about. Nothing, that is, except to use passive resistance and refuse to permit them to worry you. 16, keep your mind eternally engaged in thinking of that which you desire most, your major purpose in life, so no time will be left for you to waste on thinking of that which you do not want. And let me digress here while I tell you we are now rubbing elbows with the great master key of success this very moment. And 17, If you should ever be so unfortunate as to feel sorry for yourself, look around until you find someone who is worse off than yourself and start where you stand to give him help. Make this procedure a habit, and you will witness one of the great miracles of life, because that which you do to or for another, you do to or for yourself. And 18, choose some person whom you consider to be the sort of person you would like to be. Then go to work and emulate that person in every way possible. Great people have always been hero worshippers, but they pick the right sort of people to emulate. 19, cultivate your tone of voice so that your words have a pleasing musical sound. And remember that the sound of your voice is an open window through which other people look into your very soul. It will be a profitable investment if you will get a tape recording machine and record samples of your voice daily while you practice the art of expressing yourself through a friendly sounding voice. If you are engaged in selling, this practice will quickly pay off in monetary dividends. 20, last but by no means the least, write out this sentence and paste it in a prominent place where you work and on a mirror where you see yourself in your home. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Remember also that you are the only person who can provide you with a positive mental attitude. What are you going to do about it? On your answer to this question rests your entire future.
Rule number 3, think accurately.
The rules of accurate thinking are so clear and simple that I often wonder why so few people ever take time to learn the rules, since accurate thinking is the very foundation of all successful achievements. In this visit, I shall give you a working description of the rules of accurate thinking, which all successful people follow. First of all, accurate thinking is based on two simple fundamentals. They are called inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is used when the necessary facts on which to base your thinking are not available. In this case, you act on hypotheses, or what you assume the facts to be. Deductive reasoning is used when you have the facts or what appear to be the facts on which to base your thinking. The next step in accurate thinking is to separate facts from fiction, or hearsay evidence, and determine whether you are dealing with hypotheses or real facts. When you are sure you have dependable facts on which to base your thinking, you take the second step by separating these facts into two classes. One is important facts, and the other is unimportant facts. When you do this, you may be surprised at the overwhelmingly greater number of unimportant facts you deal with daily than there are important facts. At this point, you are almost sure to want to ask the question, what is an important fact? And how can I distinguish it from an unimportant fact? And I shall give you the answer to this very important question by saying that an important fact is any fact which will aid you to any extent whatsoever in attaining the object of your major purpose in life. And all other facts, as far as you are concerned, are unimportant, and you should waste no time with them. After this visit is over, you can employ the next hour to a great benefit to yourself if you will set down on paper a list of all the facts you dealt with yesterday, separating them into two classes, important and unimportant. As a matter of fact, you will make a profound discovery regarding accurate thinking if you follow the habit of daily taking inventory of all the facts that claimed your attention during the day, putting them down on paper in two separate columns, one labeled important facts and the other labeled unimportant facts. Now let us turn our attention to the subject of opinions and see to what extent loose, unsound opinions are mistaken for accurate thinking. To start with, let us recognize the truth that most opinions are without value because they are based on bias, prejudice, intolerance, guesswork, hearsay evidence, and out-and-out ignorance. These are harsh words I'm using, and they represent the source of most of the tragedies of life which people meet with unnecessarily. And I would say that of all the tragedies which cause misery and failure, none is more merciless or destructive than those which grow out of the indifference of people who make no attempt to learn how to think accurately. I shall never forget an experience I had with President Woodrow Wilson while I was working for him during World War I. I asked the president what effect he believed World War I would have on civilization, and his reply was brief, but it was a masterpiece which you should remember as long as you live. "I cannot answer your question," said the president, "because I have no facts on which to base an opinion." If you will remember Woodrow Wilson's 15-word speech every time you are about to express an opinion about anything, the chances are that you will soon get out of the habit of expressing or even having opinions not based on something more substantial than biases, prejudices, and emotional feelings, which often serve as fathers to facts. You will learn, if you observe carefully, that the more successful a person is, the less he is inclined to express wild, unjustified opinions about anything. Also, you must have observed already that the drifters who are suffering with frustrations because they recognize they are failures usually have an assortment of opinions on about everything you can imagine. When I hear someone expressing a definite opinion about something of which I have definite reason to believe he knows little or nothing, I think of an experience I had when I stopped a Quaker on the streets of Philadelphia and asked him the time of day. He took out his watch, examined it carefully, and then in a slow, emphatic tone of voice he said, "Well, sir, according to this alleged timepiece, it appears to be approximately 1 minute and 10 seconds past 12 o'clock. I was particularly impressed by the care with which this Quaker identified the source of his information which he was passing on to me, and I often thought afterward how beneficial it would be if all people who express opinions or give out information would take the time to identify the source from which they were able to speak. I cannot influence all people to engage in this sort of safe thinking, but I can suggest that you give it consideration in connection with this visit on the subject of accurate thinking. Now, I shall give you a simple rule which may help you avoid being misled by unsound opinions expressed by other people. When you hear someone make a statement which your reason cannot accept as being sound, or which you question or should, for safety's sake, question for any reason whatsoever, ask a simple forward question. How do you know? Then stand firm on that question and either force the speaker to identify the source from which he got the information he is endeavoring to pass on as facts, or reject the statement entirely as if it had not been made. And do this no matter who is speaking or what may be his reputation for truth and veracity. Remember, you are given as your richest birthright the privilege of controlling your own thoughts. Therefore, treat this divine gift with the profound respect to which it is entitled, and do not allow anyone to do your thinking for you, or to influence your thinking in any manner whatsoever, except by the rules of accurate thinking I am passing on to you. Follow this procedure regardless of what people think or say about your method of thinking. If they wish to call you a cynic or a doubting Thomas, let that be their misfortune. But for your own good, go right on thinking by rules which will save you from many mistakes and tragedies throughout your lives. Now I will give you 7 rules to follow, which, if you memorize them and follow them as a daily habit, may bring you top rating as an accurate thinker. 1. Never accept the opinions of other people as being facts until you have learned the source of those opinions and satisfied yourself of their accuracy. 2. Remember that free advice, no matter from whom it is received, will bear the closest of examination before it is acted upon as safe. And generally speaking, this sort of advice is worth exactly what it costs. 3. Alert yourself immediately when you hear anyone speaking of others in a discourteous or slanderous spirit, because this very fact should put you on notice that what you are hearing is biased, to say the very least about it, and it may be out-and-out misstatement. 4. In asking others for information, do not disclose to them what you wish the information to be, because most people have the bad habit of trying to please under such circumstances. Well-measured, tactful questions can be of great benefit to you in thinking accurately. 5. Remember that anything which exists anywhere throughout the universe is capable of proof, and where no such proof is available, it is safer to assume nothing exists. 6. One of the great unexplainable miracles consists in the fact that both truth and falsehood, no matter by what means they may be expressed, carry with them a silent, invisible means of identifying themselves as such. Therefore, remember this truth and begin developing the necessary intuitive faculty to enable you to sense what is false and what is true. 7, follow the habit of asking, how do you know, when anyone makes a statement you cannot identify as true. Follow this habit faithfully and you will see many persons squirm and turn red in the face when you insist upon a direct reply. The most accurate thinkers are the scientists. They investigate with open minds and never allow their wishes to become the fathers of facts, but deal with each fact as it is, not as they would like it to be. Now, one final word of warning I feel I should leave with you. Study yourself carefully, and you may discover that your own emotions are your greatest handicap in the business of accurate thinking. It is easy for you to believe that which you wish to believe, and unfortunately, that is precisely what most people do. This is a method by which many people condemn themselves to eternal failure and defeat, and it is a method which opens wide that sealed envelope which contains the list of penalties they must pay for neglecting to take possession of their minds and use them for constructive ends beneficial to themselves.
Rule number 4, have faith.
I say this is your greatest asset because it is the 4th of the 17 success principles with which you may tap and draw upon the supreme power which created you and runs this entire universe. The name of this principle is applied faith. And I want you to remember it. It is not something I am bringing to you, but it is something you already possess, although you may not have made use of it in the past. And now let me tell you what applied faith is and what you can do with it. Applied faith is the mental attitude wherein you may clear your mind of all fears and doubts and direct it to the attainment of whatever you desire in life. In our first visit, I told you that you and I and every person were blessed with the privilege of complete control over but one thing, and that is the exclusive right to take possession of our own minds and direct them to the attainment of whatever we desire in life. Applied faith is a mental attitude we must cultivate and maintain before we can take complete possession of our minds. It is the means by which we may break the seal of that envelope I mentioned in our first visit and take full possession of the 6 forms of riches we get in return for taking possession of our minds and using them. Those 6 riches were, as you may remember, sound health, peace of mind, a labor of love of your own choice, freedom from fear and worry, a positive mental attitude, and material riches of your own choice and quantity. We are now, this very moment, standing in front of the gateway which can be opened only with the great master key to success. And I'm giving you the closest clue I have yet mentioned as to how you may take possession of this key. In order that you may condition your mind to embrace and use applied faith, you must understand that there are 2 ways in which you can use faith. You can put it into reverse gear and use it in a negative way by allowing your mind to dwell upon the circumstances and the things you do not want, such as poverty, ill health, failure, defeat. And this is precisely what the majority of people do, which explains why the majority of people go through life in misery and want. Or you can take possession of your mind and direct it to think of the 6 riches which came over with you in that sealed envelope. And you will attract these riches to bless and serve you all through your life. Isn't it a strange fact that most people make a negative application of their great power of faith by thinking about and believing in poverty, ill health, fear, failure, and defeat, when it would be so easy for them just to change their thinking over to the circumstances and things they desire? Now let me give you a description of the one thing which represents the main difference between a successful person and a failure. Please listen carefully and think for yourself as I speak, because failure to recognize the truth I am about to give you is the starting point of most failures. Successful people in all occupations, all professions, and all callings have one trait which distinguishes them from the failures. It is their capacity for belief. The failures see the hole in the donut, but do not see the donut around the hole. The successes see the hole also, but they see the donut around the hole. Thomas A. Edison believed that he could perfect an incandescent electric lamp, and despite the fact that he failed over 10,000 times before he was crowned with success, he made his belief uncover the secret for which he was searching. Give one guess as to how many times the average person must fail before he quits. Fails because of the lack of capacity for belief. How many times can you meet with defeat before you give up the ghost and quit? Henry Ford believed he could build a self-propelled vehicle which would take the place of the horse and buggy. And despite the ridicule of relatives and neighbors and the lack of finances, he transmuted his belief into an industrial empire which changed the entire American way of life. Mind you, Ford did this with very little education and no operating capital to begin with. You perhaps have an idea or a plan which would be useful to other people, but you have done nothing about it because you lack the self-confidence to give you a start. In other words, you are now where Henry Ford was before he built the first model of his world-famous automobile. Mr. Ford broke through that wall of fear, which may now be holding you back. Belief is truly a magic word because it is the beginning of all successes. It is the very foundation of civilization. It is the one quality you must develop before you can make use of the great master key to success. To be successful, you must become a person with a great capacity for belief, and the place to start believing is with yourself. You should begin by recognizing that you were born with the privilege of complete control over your own mind. You should also recognize that by the application of the master key to success, which I am passing on to you through these visits, you can take full possession of your mind and make it yield you whatever you demand in life. Observe, I use the word demand, not beg. The Creator never intended for you to beg for anything. If He had, He would not have blessed you with full control over your own mind. If your life is not what you want it to be, you can change it. As a matter of fact, you can do anything within reason that you desire to do if you embrace the principle of applied faith and keep it directed to the attainment of the things you want and off the things you do not want. I should know what I'm talking about because I was handicapped at birth by the four horsemen which keep most people in bondage all the days of their lives: poverty, fear, illiteracy, and superstition. I have discovered the master key which gives one deliverance from all the evils one does not want and opens wide the gateway to the riches which the Creator intended every person to enjoy on this earth. Applied faith is the only means by which the master key can be appropriated and used. Therefore, I give you these instructions through which you may create a mental attitude which is favorable for the expression of faith. 1, know what you want and believe that you can and will get it. 2, give expressions of gratitude many times daily for having received that which you want, even before you actually get physical possession of it. Possession starts first in the mind. Please remember this. 3rd, keep your mind open for hunches from within. And when you are inspired to action, do not wait, but move on your own personal initiative at once. Remember, there can be no application of applied faith without action. 4th, when overtaken by defeat, as you may be many times, remember that man's faith is tested many times before he is crowned with final victory. And accept your defeat as nothing more than a challenge to keep on trying. And 5, a burning desire for the things or circumstances you want is the starting point of all applied faith. Be definite, believe, and act. And keep on acting if at first you meet with defeat. 6, when doubt creeps into your mind, remember that Whatsoever a man believeth, that shall he also reap. Remember, faith is not something you get. Faith is something you already have. But you may be using it in reverse gear by believing in the circumstances and things you do not want, the things you fear. Remember also that faith is guidance only. It is not a power which will bring you what you want, but a power that can guide you to go after what you want and get it. Remember, too, that your faith is limited only by your own capacity to believe. You can do whatever you make up your mind to do. I believed I could give the world a practical philosophy of success which would free men and women from their fears and limitations. I stood firmly back of that belief through 20-odd years of effort, and saw my belief give freedom to millions of people. Do the thing, said Emerson, and you shall have the power. May I paraphrase this great truth by saying, believe and you shall receive.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, learn from adversity.
Yes, the principle of learning from adversity makes it possible for you to transmute all your past failures and mistakes into an asset which will help you achieve outstanding success in the future. At the very outset of this visit, I wish to call your attention to an important fact which may give you immediate possession of the great master key to success, namely, that your positive mental attitude is the only means by which you may convert adversities, defeats, and failures into assets. It seems to have been intended that everyone should experience adversities, defeats, and even failures as a part of nature's method of disciplining people to learn how to take possession of their own minds. But the Creator very wisely provided everyone with the means for converting these experiences into benefits of a priceless value, the means being our privilege of maintaining and directing a positive mental attitude. Despite the benefits which we may get from adversities and unpleasant experiences of every nature, no one desires to meet with these experiences. A failure or defeat is just as unpleasant to me now as it was 30-odd years ago when I was learning about failures and unpleasant experiences in the great University of Hard Knocks. Yet, I would be something less than fair with you if I had neglected to tell you that my greatest blessings came from my greatest adversities. But these blessings never would have been recognized by me if I had not learned the truth that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit, which is the very hub of this visit with you. Once you learn that adversities can be made to pay dividends, you will acquire the habit of looking for that seed of an equivalent benefit in each such experience with which you meet. Come with me now, and I shall give you some examples which prove conclusively that failures, defeats, unpleasant experiences can be converted into stepping stones on which one may rise to great heights of personal achievement. My first illustration concerns a man of whom you may have heard, and I have no doubt you have eaten some of the food which he produced and marketed throughout the nation as a result of an adversity which would have stopped most men cold. The man was Milo C. Jones, who owned a small farm near Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, on which he made only a fair living until he was stricken down with double paralysis, which deprived him of every portion of his body except his brain. In this hour of his greatest adversity, Milo C. Jones used his mind, took possession of it for the first time in his life, perhaps, and out of that mind came the idea of raising hogs and converting them into little pig sausage. And on that same farm, where previous to that adversity he made only a mere living, he found the seed of an equivalent benefit that compensated him for the loss of the use of his body and lived to see little pig sausage yield him a huge fortune. Isn't it strange that so often people have to be cut down by failure and defeat before they learn that they have minds capable of mastering all of their problems? Isn't it strange why Milo C. Jones did not discover the little pig sausage idea while he had a sound body? My next illustration is based on an adversity of a man whom we all know because he was President of the United States, and his name was Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was stricken in the prime of his life with polio, which destroyed the use of his legs. Instead of sitting on a street corner with a tin cup and some lead pencils, as many another might have done under similar circumstances, Franklin D. Roosevelt transmuted his affliction into a buildup of his self-reliance and lifted himself to the highest position available to mankind anywhere on this earth, got that position and held it until he passed on, held it longer than had any previous president. Verily, I tell you with all the enthusiasm at my command, that you may find in your adversities the necessary challenge to inspire you on to success such as you never would have known without these experiences. I do not suggest that you look for adversities or expect to meet with them, but if you do so, just remember not to fear them. And instead of brooding over them, as most people do, let me suggest that you be different and convert them into stepping stones on which you may rise to whatever place in life you have set for yourself. 3. My next illustration is based on you and all the adversities and failures you have ever experienced. I shall not go into details because I do not know the details of any such experiences you may have met with, but this much I do know. I have brought to you in this visit the means by which you can convert all your past disappointments and all of your future adversities and failures into a seed of equivalent benefit. You can do this by the simple process of appropriating and putting to your use the 9 success principles I have given you previously. If you do not remember these 9 principles, write to me and I will tell you how to get copies of them. Right here, may I remind you of the great importance of following the principle of a positive mental attitude, because this is the principle you will need most in converting unpleasant experiences into assets. 4. My next illustration involves a very intimate personal experience of my own, which began when my mother passed on. I was 8 years of age. I know that the loss of one's mother at any age usually is regarded as an irreparable loss which offers no possible benefits. But even in the loss of loved ones, we may find that there is a seed of an equivalent benefit. I found that seed in one of the most wonderful persons I have ever known when my father brought home my new mother. It was she who inspired me to prepare myself for the opportunity I was to receive later in life when I met Andrew Carnegie and received from him the commission to organize the world's first practical philosophy of personal success. Had it not been for the loss of my mother, I would not now be having this visit with you, and my books would not now be serving to help millions of people throughout the world to find their places in life. Just remember this about adversities. Nothing is ever so bad or so unpleasant that it may not yield some benefit if we keep a positive mental attitude toward the experience and make it a habit to look for that seed of an equivalent benefit. This, of course, involves the application of that important success principle, personal initiative. 5. Now I come to an illustration which involves our great American way of life and all the personal freedom and opportunities we enjoy under our way of life. And it begins with our defeat of the British in 1778. Probably every Britisher believed that the loss of the American colonies was an irreparable loss which offered no possible benefits. Yet you and I know that if we had not defeated the British and made ourselves rich and powerful, the British Empire probably would have been wiped out in World Wars I or II. We know also that although the British Empire survived those 2 wars, it was our financial help which saved the British from starvation and bankruptcy. So, today, every Britisher should give thanks for the defeat of Lord Cornwallis's armistice, because that defeat finally became the means of survival of the British Empire. 6. My next illustration brings us face to face with an adversity which involves you and I and every other person now living. an adversity from which we have not as yet availed ourselves of that seed of an equivalent benefit which is to be found in all adversities. I have reference to the trend in this and all other countries to rob individuals of their rights of personal freedom, a trend which is in direct violation of the obvious purpose of the Creator to give every individual the privilege of freedom of thought and action. There is something definite you and I can do about this common trend to rob us of our rights of personal freedom. We cannot turn it back entirely by our individual efforts, but we can and we should do something about it where it affects us individually and where we know what we can do and how we can do it. Of course, you will ask, what can I do to influence a world trend? And I shall answer by saying there is something definite that you can do. You can refuse to accept this common trend and take full possession of your own mind, thus fulfilling your personal responsibility to your Creator. Remember those 2 sealed envelopes I mentioned in a previous visit. One of them is labeled riches you may enjoy by taking possession of your own mind. Very well, you have a responsibility to yourself, your loved ones, your Creator, to take possession of your own mind and to direct it to ends of your own choice. This responsibility is yours and no one else can rob you of it or fulfill it for you. You also have a responsibility to your country, which has given you our great American way of life. Our great system of free enterprise, which is so designed as to provide one with every possible motive for taking possession of his own mind and writing his own ticket in life. We should remember that our benefits under the American way of life, like every other blessing we have been given at birth, is something we can retain and enjoy only by making the fullest and best use of it. It is definitely a part of the overall plan of the universe to give man the benefit only of those blessings he recognizes, embraces, and uses constructively. Tie your arm to your side and take it out of use, and nature rebels immediately by causing the arm to atrophy, wither, and become useless. Neglect to keep in contact with your friends and cultivate them, and you lose them. Show indifference to the patrons from whom you earn your living, or the employer who pays your wages, and very soon you find yourself without a market for your services. It is an inevitable law of nature that you lose that which you do not use. And of course, this applies to the use of your own mind, the same as to everything else. And we who so often boast that we are citizens of the richest, the greatest, and the most powerful nation civilization has yet produced, will do well to remember this law, through which we lose that which we do not properly use.
Rule number 6, master the rules of investing.
I always borrow to invest. One of my favorite books that just came out with is called Fake. Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. I use debt to invest. But to be able to do that, to go to here, to get rich, to do that, you've really got to have a lot of financial education. I don't recommend it, but it's the best way to get rich. President Trump, my friend, we wrote 2 books together. I know some of you guys hate him. A lot of people hate the guy, but he's very smart. He's a capitalist. Obama, socialist, communist. Hillary, crook. So anyway, be very careful right now because I use debt, Trump uses debt. The more debt we use, the less tax we pay. That is why I love real estate. I can use debt and pay no taxes, make a lot of money. So that's really what I teach. I don't recommend it, but for those of you who understand what's called an infinite return, it's the best way to get rich, but you have to have a lot of financial education. So the reason the rich don't pay taxes is because there's 3 types of income. They'll never teach you this in school. The fake teachers will never. There's 3 types of income. Okay, number 1 type of income is earned income. That's earned income. It's when you work for money, it's earned. Mm-hmm. So that earned income shows up here. So these are the guys that pay tax. So when all the guys are screaming tax the rich, well, you can't tax them because they don't have jobs. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely
It's kind of
right.
funny, isn't it? We're going to tax the rich. Oh, yeah, good luck, you know. And then the second type of income is portfolio income. And portfolio income is from flipping houses, or you buy a stock for like $10, you sell it for $20. That's portfolio income. Okay? I don't do that. Trump doesn't do that. So most guys who are flipping houses and all that, buying stocks and flipping to you're getting this type of income. So this income is about 20% today. Some of that here. But the income that the rich work for is called passive income. Passive income is also known as cash flow. That's the name of our game, cash flow. And that income is income that's flowing from here to here. It bypasses taxes. So I know it doesn't sound fair, and it isn't fair. I don't disagree with you. But what's not fair is our schools, which are part of the problem, will never explain that. Our school system is so fake, it's more fake than those fake plastic plants there. And these teachers, bless their heart, they don't know any of this. And I really want to talk to you about the most important subject for all of us today, rich, young, poor, or old. It's called financial education. And as you know, our school systems teach us nothing about money. Nothing. It's pathetic. You know, they have financial literacy courses today. Well, that's not financial education. You know, it's really pathetic. And what's happening for most people today is, you know, they follow that age-old mantra, go to school. What do you learn about money in school? Nothing. Get a job. Well, jobs are disappearing. Not only that, is that with artificial intelligence and G5 coming, more jobs are going to get wiped out. Plus, with driverless cars, more jobs are getting wiped out. So why would you go to school to get a job? And then work hard for money, but pay taxes. Taxes are going to keep going up, sports fans. They have to. Somebody's going to pay off this massive mountain of debt stacking up all over the world. And the only way they pay off debt is via taxes. And then they tell you to get out of debt. Oh, God. Debt is money. Please understand me. In 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. So the rich know how to use debt to get rich. And that's what I do. My friend Donald Trump, I know some of you hate the guy, more power to you, you know. But we use debt as money. And other guys will tell you get out of debt. Well, you choose. The rich use debt to get rich, and the poor and middle class get wiped out because they're in debt. That's because of the lack of financial education. And they tell you to invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. The key word in there is invest for the long term. Why would you invest for the long term when they're printing trillions of dollars and ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, they're paying you nothing for your money? And you're going to hold for the long term, and you got HFT, high frequency trading. You know, they can trade 1,000 pieces of stock in a second, and you don't have a prayer. You're trading against a machine, a robot. So all this financial advice people are giving out there is a recipe for disasters. Again, this is my message to anybody, including millennials, is where is your head? Yeah. You know, I know most millennials, they want a high-paying job. They want to be able to pay the rent, eat, and all this stuff. And then you dream of the big house, a nice car, and all that. But that's why 99% of Americans are broke, because their heads are in the wrong spot. So when I asked Kim if she would take an accounting course, it was just 2 days. You know, I wanted to see if her head could get into the asset column. That was the difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, and actually, it didn't happen right at that moment, but
You fell in love with me?
Of course I did. Of course I did. But this started the journey on investing, the start of the journey on assets. But I do remember the moment down the road where, just like everybody else, I was focused on the income column, get a job, get the pay raises. If you're an hourly wage, work more hours or raise your hourly wage. So I was always focused here. And then finally, this is after we'd actually bought some investment properties, the light finally went on, and I'm like, instead of focusing on acquiring income, what if we focus on just acquiring assets, that the assets go into the income column?
Like this.
So that was a huge shift in my mindset. And once that shift happened for me, I don't think about the income column anymore. I just think about the asset column.
And that's our game called cash flow.
Yeah.
The first way you understand risk is you look in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's who's looking back at you. You're the risk, not the investment. For example, I invest in a lot of real estate and say, oh, real estate is so risky, so I think I'll buy ETFs. So you play it safe, but you'll learn more by investing in real estate, right? Because you'll make more mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. So it's not real estate that's risky, it's you're risky.
Yeah. And sometimes it's ironic because I think about it like, so blindly turning your money away to someone you barely know isn't risky. Or let's say, I don't know, maybe just depending on this job where your employer can fire you any day isn't risky either. You know, it makes you think a little, what truly is risky for you?
Yeah.
How do you define it?
And you look at all the pensions of the school teachers, firefighters, and all the guys with 401ks, they're all bankrupt because Wall Street stole their money from them. You know? And the Federal Reserve Bank, they're run by PhDs, like my poor dad. And PhD stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. The Fed has not been right in years. Everybody worships the Federal Reserve Bank. The other day, somebody says, what do you think about artificial intelligence? I said, oh, are you talking about the Federal Reserve Bank? You know, they're a criminal operation. They're the guys stealing from our pension systems. It's horrible what's going on because we have all these PhDs, poor, helpless, and desperate people who are risk averse. It's funny, isn't it? It's really funny. But let me tell you what risk is. So,
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
So when you go to your banker does not ask you for your report card. So here's the cash flow game, and this is called a financial statement. What makes the cash flow game different from Monopoly, which how my rich dad taught me via Monopoly, is my rich dad also taught me about financial statements. So the cash flow is the only game with a financial statement. So really simply, when you look at a financial statement, there's income, expense, assets, liabilities. There's one more thing in the cash flow game on the financial statement you'll see. It's the most important statement of all. It's called the statement of cash flow. It's off to the side here. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur or a capitalist, you have to have one of these. You're going to be rich, you have to have one of these. But 99% of all high school students leaving school and college have no idea what this is. You have FICO scores, you know, but you don't know what this is.
No.
So when a banker asks you for your financial statement, they want to see how smart you are here. So let me tell you why school makes students poor. So really simply, it's this. Let's say I have a master's in arts, Master of Arts degree, right?
Yeah.
Or a Bachelor of Arts degree.
Yeah.
Do I learn anything about income?
No.
What about Greek mythology?
Oh, there you go.
I
That's
learned
very important.
nothing about income. And we wonder why kids are leaving school, or young generation, looking for that high-paying job. But now let me ask you this. If you have a degree in technology, do you learn anything about assets?
Never.
So you could be a techie and you know nothing about this.
Yeah.
You could be a techie and know nothing about this. You see, when a banker looks at your financial statement, they're looking at the mirror of you. This is a reflection of you. And if you got Jack here and Jack here, then you're not that smart financially. So the reason the cash flow game is such an important game, it teaches you what is important to your banker or for a capitalist or for an entrepreneur, is that an entrepreneur's got to know how to increase their income.
Yeah.
And an entrepreneur's got to know how to create assets. If you don't know those two things, you should not be an entrepreneur. You should be an employee, which is why so many young people coming out of school have massive student loan debt over here, right? But they don't know anything about this and about this here. That's risky.
And we always have to find outside resources to like find this information, learn this information, you know, taking courses here at Rich Dad, learning through your seminars. And so it's really astonishing how something that's supposed to prepare you for the future leaves you with just the most important documents that we're told that we need to have are a resume and your report cards, your transcripts. But in reality,
if you're going to be an employee.
Exactly. But for entrepreneurship, which is what a lot of people come to us for, this is where you can learn it here, because in the school system, you won't.
You see, if you're going to increase your income right over here, you need a real teacher. If you're going to acquire assets, you need real teachers. What is high risk is asking people who are fake teachers, like my calculus teacher and my accounting, you love accounting teachers, don't you?
No, I hate them.
Did your accounting teacher know anything about this?
No, nothing.
Did your accounting teacher know anything about this?
No.
That's risky. So that's why I wrote the book Fake Money, Fake Teachers, Fake Assets. And what Wall Street is telling you to do was just give your money to them.
Yeah.
That's risky. So the reason I say only lazy people use their own money is because it takes much more intelligence to raise capital. And so I've never been able, ever since my rich dad, since a little boy, my rich dad forbade me from ever saying, I can't afford it. He says, figure out how you can afford it. How can you do something? Figure out how you can do something. So over my lifetime, most of the projects I've started, I've never had any money. I like not having money because it forces me to think. I get creative. I have to educate myself. I have to talk to rich guys. Hey, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? And what has happened to me, I just turned 72, I've never needed money. Because if I need money, I figure out how to raise it.
Rule number 7, work to learn.
It was really hard because I didn't like, I'm actually a very shy person. So learning how to sell was the hardest thing I could do. But if I hadn't spent 4 years learning how to sell, I never made it here, I never made it here.
So the entire time that you were here, you were preparing to jump to the other quadrant.
Correct. So every job is not so much for the high-paying job with job security. For not everybody, most people should have job security because they're not designed to be entrepreneurs. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, then you better take this job and say, well, which way am I going to go? So I knew my job at Xerox was to go here and here and here, not stay here. And I actually make so much money over here that I don't need job security, I need the money. So really that's the lesson. When you look at a job, you look at what can I learn more than how much can I make. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And if you look for a job where you can learn a lot, the harder the job, the better it is.
Rule number 8, learn how to read a financial statement.
This is called a financial statement. What makes the cash flow game different from Monopoly, which how my rich dad taught me via Monopoly, is my rich dad also taught me about financial statements. So cash flow is the only game with a financial statement. So really simply, when you look at a financial statement, there's income, expense, assets, liabilities. There's one more thing in the cash flow game on the financial statement you'll see. It's the most important statement of all. It's called the statement of cash flow. It's off to the side here. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur or a capitalist, you have to have one of these. You're going to be rich, you have to have one of these. But 99% of all high school students leaving school and college have no idea what this is. You have FICO scores, but you don't know what this is.
No.
So when a banker asks you for your financial statement, they want to see how smart you are here. So let me tell you why school makes students poor. So really simply, it's this. Let's say I have a master's in arts, Master of Arts degree, right?
Yeah.
Or a Bachelor of Arts degree.
Yeah.
Do I learn anything about income?
No.
What about Greek mythology?
Oh, there you go.
I
That's very
learned
important.
nothing about income. And we wonder why kids are leaving school, or young generation, looking for that high-paying job. But now let me ask you this. If you have a degree in technology, do you learn anything about assets?
Never.
So you could be a techie and you know nothing about this.
Yeah.
You could be a techie and know nothing about this. You see, when a banker looks at your financial statement, they're looking at the mirror of you. This is a reflection of you. And if you got Jack here and Jack here, then you're not that smart financially. So the reason the cash flow game is such an important game, it teaches you what is important to your banker or for a capitalist or for an entrepreneur, is that an entrepreneur's got to know how to increase their income.
Yeah.
And an entrepreneur's got to know how to create assets. If you don't know those two things, you should not be an entrepreneur. You should be an employee.
Rule number 9, take risks.
Millennials are the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings, you might make a mistake, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little box here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think millennial money is such an important point here, because if you're going to come into my world, old guy's world, or the information age, you've really got to understand what is risky and what is not risky. And in my world, if you play it safe, that makes you stupid. Because if you don't take risks, you don't get smarter.
Yeah.
So you may know the answer, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I had is I went to military school, then I went to flight school. I had such great teachers, All of them could fly. So my flight instructor could fly. What a novel idea. A flight instructor can fly. But when I was in high school, most of my teachers were terrified. They're all cowards, job security. Don't make mistakes. Just memorize the right answer and you'll be safe. And that's why most school teachers aren't rich.
Yeah.
And they teach that to your generation today.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is learn how to raise capital.
I'll share some of the insights I've learned over the years on raising capital. Again, it's the most important skill I have. And just to reiterate, was in approximately 1975, I came out with this product and we were extremely successful, but we kept running out of money. The more successful we got, the more we ran out of money. So that's when I went to my rich dad and I tried to borrow $100,000 and he chewed me out. He says, why would I invest in a dumb product when you have a bad business? And so that's when he began teaching me the next level of my entrepreneurial education. It's not about the product, it's about how to design a business that doesn't need me to keep raising the capital. In other words, how do you design a business that keeps raising money automatically? And today, the Rich Dad company is cash rich. Cash keeps pouring in because the ability to raise money constantly was designed into the business. And once again, this is the diagram. This is the BI triangle. These are the 8 pieces that make up a business. When a business is hurting, oftentimes it's because one of these 8 pieces is missing. For example, many times people have a great product, but their legal is really bad, or their communication systems are bad, or their audit, their internal order processing is bad, or the manufacturing is bad, or the marketing is bad, or they have bad cash flow management. So part of the 3-day will be discussing, going into depth, how you put a solid business structure together. Because this is it. There's trillions, well, not trillions, but billions of dollars out there looking for a home. But they don't invest in products. And that was my Rich Dad's lesson. Sophisticated investors invest in a well-designed business. So with that, I'll go into a little more on what we'll be covering on our 3-day. And some of you who are familiar with my work understand this. When you look at a financial statement, let's say this is income, expense, asset, liability, okay? And as I explained in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, your house is not an asset. So basically most people have a house they think as an asset, but every month it's costing them money through a thing called a mortgage payment. That's why they're broke. So what makes a person rich, like what makes me rich, is very simply I have assets such as businesses. I have the Rich Dad business. Every month, lots of money comes in. I also have real estate. I also have stocks and bonds, and I have commodities, such as I am a partner in oil companies, and every month, the cash flows into me. So this is the model of a rich person. Whether I work or not, money comes in, okay? And that's what makes me rich. Most people, all they have is a mortgage payment, car payment, college loan payments and all that. That's a poor person, okay? So what makes the same thing that makes a rich person rich and what makes a well-designed business rich is that as a sophisticated investor, let's say this is a rich business, when I wrote the business plan for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this company now, is that I had to design in assets. So one of the biggest assets Rich Dad has is we are a brand and we license our name. So all over the world, there's about 60 people who every month send me money. It was designed into the business plan. For example, with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, every month, people like in Japan and China and Asia and Europe, every month they send me money. The second thing is every time I write a book, every month money comes in. When I design my board game, every month money comes in. And what else we have? When we have seminars, more money comes in. So every month, the business of Rich Dad gets richer and richer because we're constantly setting up more assets. So what makes a person rich is the same thing that makes a business rich. So when I designed the Rich Dad company, I designed it to be a rich company. Once I designed this, it was very easy to raise capital. Capital poured in because sophisticated investors, people on the B and I side of the quadrant, saw that I knew how to build a rich, stable company. So today, the Rich Dad company has zero debt and just tons of cash flow coming in, regardless if I work or not. So I hope that makes sense to you, is every month or every year, the Rich Dad company is working to add more assets to the business. So in this economic downturn, money still comes in. When I designed my Velcro company, I designed a wallet and it was sold. Once it was sold, there was no more income coming in. It was a poorly designed business, and that's why my Rich Dad didn't want to invest in my wallet company. But the Rich Dad company, because the Rich Dad company is building assets all the time, it gets to be richer and richer and richer. So, in final statement, I'd like to point out one more thing that makes a company rich or poor is business design. The reason it's hard for most people to raise capital, I don't care if it's real estate or what, is very simply because most people operate here. There is no asset. The only asset is the entrepreneur who's working hard. Like if I owned a pizza shop, I have to be there 24/7 or responsible for it. There's no sense investing in it. There's no sense investing in it. The other thing too, if you have a service business, like, remember Arthur Andersen was a huge accounting firm. The moment they had ran into problems with the Enron scandal, the whole business folded. The reason Arthur Andersen went down was because they were a service building business. They were a big business, but they had tons of accountants working for them. And so the problem with a business like Arthur Andersen is their assets went home every night. They had no real asset. So once again, people go home. The Rich Dad Company gets stronger because we really do have assets. People can come and go, but the business has assets and the thing keeps running. The final thing is this. It's the same thing. Ken McElroy, the ABCs of real estate, my partner in real estate deals, his business is exactly the same. So the key to raising money, this is Ken McElroy's company, it's called MC Companies. Ken McElroy's business is in the business of acquiring assets. That's why his company gets richer and richer and richer. Every year he adds probably 1,000 new apartment units to his inventory. So Ken's company gets richer and richer because MC Company is designed to increase assets. Poorly designed businesses never have any assets, they have huge liabilities. And I trust that makes sense to you. So Ken McElroy's business gets stronger and stronger and stronger because every year he's increasing more assets. The Rich Dad Company gets stronger and stronger and stronger because every year we add more assets. This year we're adding franchising to our mix. We're also, Rich Brother, Rich Sister, the book has come out. We come out with the real book of real estate, et cetera, et cetera. And every one of those products every year continues to send money into our product. So that's an idea of a well-designed business. If you have a well-designed business, I don't care if it's for real estate or making cash flow board games, if it's well-designed, investors will give money to you because this is a well-designed business.
Most people grow up with an unhealthy view of money. Some people think that money is everything, that the next person you see, the next customer you talk to, that's your next suit, that's your next car. And other people think that money is the root of all, right? Or the love of money is the root of all evil, right? To make money, you're evil, you're slimy, you're gross, you're ripping people off. Most people grow up in one of those two camps. That's the lesson that's been taught you by your parents. The truth is money is just a tool. Money is an amazing tool that lets you accomplish amazing things. And if you are an entrepreneur and want to have success, making money has to be in your top 5 list of priorities. If it is not in your top 5, then you're not making money. But it can't be number 1. Money can't be your number 1 priority. There has to be something that is more important than it, and that's your purpose. I don't really usually talk a lot about money on my videos. Maybe I should. Maybe I should talk more about it. I think it's important. I think there's just so much out there that seems to be money, 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 money that I'm trying to go against it to say, like, purpose is number 1. You're built to serve. If you're just chasing money, you're never gonna win. I think I see too many entrepreneurs just chasing money, and so a lot of the content that I make is more purpose driven, but there's still, I think, a lot of people who are purpose driven, who've started a business for the right reasons, and they don't know how to make money. And so maybe I need to switch up some of the content that I make as well to help change the perspective around money. My personal view is I hate spending money until I'm making money. I love making money. It's not number 1, right? Serving, believing entrepreneurs is number 1. But again, it's in the top 5 because if I didn't make money, I wouldn't have a team. I wouldn't have people to help me make this video. It'd be me by myself trying to put together one piece of content, a week or maybe a day, just, filming by myself. But instead I have this team of people who I'm super appreciative of, and I can afford that because I'm making money doing the business that I'm doing, right? It's kind of important. When I look at Jeremy, who I invested into earlier this year, this is a great example of how I like to think, right? So Jeremy runs a YouTube consulting business. I invested into him. I had this dream in the desert. I'm driving through the desert on my tour in March-ish, February, around there, this year, 2019. And I had this idea that Jeremy, I want to start a YouTube consulting business with Jeremy. At the time, Jeremy was working at a grocery store, stocking shelves and checking people out. He asked me a bunch of times whether he could help me in any way, if he could walk my dog or buy groceries or like anything, just to help. And I'm like, I don't need somebody to wash my car or walk my dogs. And so, I said no, but I love his hustle and energy and drive and just personality. And I thought he'd make a great entrepreneur, and he's capable of so much more than just working at a grocery store. And so I had this dream in the desert for some reason. Well, not a dream, I was driving, so I was fully awake. I told Nina, we need to get Jeremy on the line right now. I had this idea, so she messaged him on Facebook, and I said, I need to talk to him right now. And at first he wasn't available. I said, like, you got to get him on the Facebook Live right now. Like, I need to talk to him on the video right now. Because if I waited till tomorrow, I would have pushed it off, right? I got an inspired idea, let's go. And I said, here's this idea I've got. I want to teach you YouTube. I want to have you learn everything that I know about it, and I want to start a YouTube consulting business with you. And here's what you need to do. Are you in? And he said, yeah, I'm in. I want to do it. He didn't really know a ton about YouTube at that point in time, besides coming to my Thought Leadership Academy, I guess the couple months before. And I said, okay, before I come back, I'm going to be home in 2 months. Here's what you need to learn. You need to watch all of these videos where I talked about YouTube. You need to watch these other channels that talk about YouTube. You need to analyze data. You need to come up with suggestions and feedback. And you need to know when I come home, I was 90 days on the road. When I come home, you have to learn and know and understand it. You got to be an expert. And he's great at learning. So I thought he would crush it. Where I thought he might struggle is on the interaction and talking to clients, because he hadn't done that work before. So when I got home, the first step was you're gonna hop on a free call. You're gonna give some free advice to people who've come through the Thought Leadership Academy and do YouTube audits on them. Tell them you're gonna record the call, and then I'm gonna listen in with you afterwards. And he did a great job. I knew he'd be prepared and have the research and know what he's doing, because he studies and he works like nobody else. But I didn't know he'd do so well and actually be able to handle the objections and handle the push and the movement to help them. And he's only gotten better with time too. But this is since we started the business together in April, and he's already building a 6-figure business from a guy who went from stocking shelves to now we're talking about how do we scale it up beyond him. He can only max out a certain number of clients and still serve them properly. Do we bring on somebody else underneath him and just keep increasing the prices? What kind of business did he want to build? 6-figure business, inside of 5 months. It's crazy, right? I mean, maybe not so crazy, but from an idea to action, but didn't spend any money to start it. There were no ads that were taken out. It was just research, hard work, hustle, outreach, telling people he can help them. And it was him reaching out to people who he thought could really benefit, that he had knowledge that could help them, and saying, I'd love to set up a free call with you. And he set up these half-an-hour calls where he was walking through and giving them advice. And he had 3 big ideas for each client. And most people wouldn't then hire him. Like most people who come on a call, they're not going to hire you right away. But you hit a certain percentage, right? And you get better in targeting who you're going to go after and reach. And so now we've built a 6-figure business and plus. Now we're looking at really scaling up for next year. And so having this conversation, I guess, around money and how to build a business quickly without having to spend money, I think is important. And so maybe I'll try to include more of that content. Love to know your thoughts. That can be the question of the day. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want more content about making money on the channel? You can let me know in the comments below. But I'm gonna give you a 3-step process that I think will help you. Step number 1 is don't start spending money until you're making it. Don't spend money until you're making it. It's so easy to spend money. This is the thing when I was in venture capital raising money for companies. Everybody just showed how they're gonna spend money, but not how they're gonna make it, right? It's so easy to think about. If I only had $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, whatever, you can go buy all this stuff. Stop thinking about the money you don't have, right? Instead, you think about what you can do with what you do have. What can you use? You're a genius, you're resourceful, you've got ideas. How do you use that creativity? Instead of thinking the biggest problem is money, the problem is not money. The problem is you're not resourceful enough. Go off and solve that problem, right? Jeremy had a budget of 0 and still has a budget of 0 to build his business. And even if you're doing a product, right? You say, well, he's doing a service. Great. Maybe you actually start as a service. Maybe your product idea, you should start as a service to get close to your customers and build a reliable, repeatable income stream. But if you're going to do a product, you pre-sell, right? You pre-sell. You make a mock-up. And if you can't actually make like a mug to show, then you make a design of it. right? You do a mock-up. There's always a smaller way to get started, and you pre-sell. You're not putting enough hustle, energy, heart, dedication into it, and you're blaming lack of money. Too many people, maybe not you, but too many people. That's the problem. Don't spend money until you're making money. It's a great rule to start by. Number 2 is study wealthy people who share the same values as you. This is where it becomes particularly difficult, because you might look at some people who have money, who've made it, and you say, well, that person is such a whatever, right? That person is evil, or that person is whatever. Like, you come up with a story in your mind. And so even if you're looking at YouTube, whether you're looking at my content or Gary or Grant or Tom or Patrick or any of them, Mel, any of the people creating content, think about first, who do you resonate with on values, right? Maybe you love Gary and hate Grant, or maybe you love Grant and you hate Gary, or maybe you love Dan and hate Evan, right? Great, awesome. Go learn from that person. Go learn from that person, because the way that they think about money could be the thing that you need the most. And so surround yourself with them, watch their videos, read their books, go to their events, to see that somebody who has the same values as you can make money, so that it's possible. So that you don't feel like I'm a nice guy or a nice girl and I can never make money because I don't want to rip people off. There's lots of people who are making lots of money and not ripping people off. So find your favorites and model them and be around them and surround yourself with them, if only virtually, like even if you never meet them, if only virtually, so that their way of thinking, their thought process around money starts to seep into you. And step number 3 is understand that money lets you serve. The more money you have, the more you can serve, right? What happens if you're not making money? Then this thing that you love doing, this part, the last section in Built to Serve, if you guys don't have Built to Serve, you can pre-order in the link below. The last section of Built to Serve, the first part is all about finding your purpose, right? You are built to serve. How are you built to serve? The process is in here, right? The last section, though, is how to turn it into a business. Because if you found your calling, if you found the thing that is your purpose, that you want to do for the rest of your life, but you can't turn it into something that's going to pay you, the problem is you're just doing it as a hobby for the rest of your life. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You're still helping, you're still giving, you're still contributing, but you can only do it on the evenings and weekends because you're not making enough money to actually support yourself. So you have to have this job that, you know, maybe you hate, maybe you don't hate, but isn't actually your thing. And then when you get home, the last couple hours of the weekends, those hours you can use to fulfill your purpose. And that's great and that's noble. But what if you could turn your full-time thing into the thing that fulfills your purpose? So that 1, you're happier because you're doing more work on the thing that you love doing, right? But then 2, you can scale it up. You can hire people now. And now instead of just you part-time fulfilling your purpose, you have yourself and a whole team of people, of 10, 100, 1,000 people, all contributing towards your mission, which then allows you to give. Right, at every event that I do, there's always, usually we aim for 10% of people who are in for free, who couldn't afford it. Right, so on my tour, when we go on the workshop and the tour, we're doing 20-something cities over almost 90 days. 10% of the room will be free because they can't afford it, because maybe they're homeless. You wouldn't know it. There's a lot of people who are homeless that you would not know are homeless, right? Whenever I do my Thought Leadership Academy in Toronto, it's a I don't know, I forget what the ticket is, a couple thousand to come. There's always somebody in the room who's there on basically a sponsorship, right? It's a I don't want to say donation, it's when you give to education? I don't know. Anyway, we let somebody in for free. Somebody who can't afford it, somebody who I believe in, who I think has a message and will take a lot from this training, and they get in for free. And because I'm making money, that allows me to do that. If I wasn't getting paid at all from any of the people who come out, then I couldn't just do it all for free every time, because then I can't afford a location, I can't afford to have my team members, I couldn't be able to put it together. So understanding, making that shift in your head that money allows you to serve, that the more money you make, the more you can serve, the more you can help people. And if you actually want to fulfill your purpose, then you have to learn how to make money in your business. Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video, because you are awesome. If you want to learn what to do with your money to build your wealth, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
We grow up with these things I call invisible scripts. And these are the scripts that are beliefs that are so powerful, we don't even realize that they're around us. That's why they're invisible. So a classic one in America